That's Sonic Youth from their 1988 LP, Daydream Nation. One of their most recognizable songs, Teenage Riot is the name of the song. And boy, I'm on a Sonic Youth kick this morning. Well, good morning, Vaqueros. This is DJ Doc V. You're listening to Office Hours. It's Friday, April 5th, 10:07 in the morning. It is a very nice and very pleasant 72 degrees here in the upper Rio Grande Valley. Sunny skies. We're expecting a high this afternoon of 86. Overnight of 69 degrees, but it looks like it's going to be a nice weekend. Sunny skies throughout the, well, it looks like there might be some cloud, maybe even a chance of rain on Monday. But this weekend, 88 as a high today, 89 tomorrow. Slight chance of rain, some partly cloudy skies. And then on Sunday, 87 with almost a 20% chance of showers. So maybe you have to stay in on Sunday. Nothing wrong with staying in. That's good, right? Got some great music picked out for you today. And in our focus on Sonic Youth at the beginning of this show, that song, Teenage Teenage Riot, on the Daydream Nation LP, was played at the Sonic Youth Mudhoney concert. That's right, Mudhoney, the Seattle Sound band. Sonic Youth, also one of those Seattle Sound bands, but maybe not as commonly, I guess they're not as common knowledge as, say, Nirvana or Soundgarden, stuff like that. But yeah, February 28th, 1993. At the Aloha Tower in Honolulu, I got to see Sonic Youth with Mudhoney opening. Mark Arm joining Sonic Youth on stage for their set for a couple of songs, including that one there, Teenage Riot. What a great show, a great venue as well. I saw a couple of other bands there at the Aloha Tower. Saw the final Jane's Addiction concert out at the Aloha Tower. I think that was also in 1993. Who else did we see at the Aloha Tower? Oh, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Got to see them at the Aloha Tower as well. So I saw Kim Gordon, the female vocalist from Sonic Youth. The band broke up many years ago, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon, the core of Sonic Youth, were married for many years, had a couple of kids, and then they split up, which essentially killed the band. And they haven't played together any time recently, and they're not planning on any doing anything together. But I saw Kim Gordon has a new solo album out, and her song is just fantastic. She was playing it on it was Jimmy Kimmel Live or something like that. So I've got that coming up for you. But first, let's do another Sonic Youth song. This one from their LP Goo. Shout out to my friend Steve in Spokane. I'm not going to play My Friend Goo, which is a song that I also really enjoy from this band. But instead, we're going to do Cool Thing. This is a song that also got some radio play. The first one there, Teenage Riot, that was relatively popular in the alternative scene. And then this one was really more of a commercial success. So this one's called Cool Thing. It's Sonic Youth. Only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. Some more of that Seattle sound with Soundgarden. That one's a song called Birth Ritual from the soundtrack of the movie Singles. Great vocals there with Chris Cornell. Lost him much too soon. Such a tragedy there. But before that, you heard that was a new song from Kim Gordon, the former female vocalist and guitar player from Sonic Youth. This is from her new record, The Collective, her second studio album, released just last month, March 8th, on Matador Records. Album inspired in part by Jennifer Egan's 2022 novel, The Candy House. But that song, Bye Bye, I saw her on one of the late night shows performing that song. I'm like, ooh, wow. And I didn't even realize it. Kim Gordon of Sonic, and you heard that music. That was not, that was very experimental, kind of, certainly off the beaten path. Kim Gordon, born April 28th, 1953, 70 years old. I hope when I'm 70 that I'm listening to that kind of music still. That'll be fantastic. Gotta hand it to her. She's still doing it. Still doing it. Kim Gordon. I'm gonna get that record. I think I want to get that whole record and listen to it. That's right. Before that, in the first set, we heard Cool Thing from Sonic Youth and then Teenage Riot. So it's been a Seattle sound morning so far. Nothing wrong with that, of course. Coming up here at the bottom of the hour, just a few minutes, we'll be doing our This Day in History like we do every week on office hours. Another connection to the Seattle sound on This Day in History. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll get back to the music here in a minute. It is 10:27, 75 degrees here in the beautiful upper Rio Grande Valley. Sunny skies. We're looking for a high this afternoon somewhere around 86 or so. Right? It looks like it's going to be maybe a high of 88. Tomorrow a high of 89 with partly cloudy skies. And Sunday high of 87. Looks like we got some rain pulling in on Monday. So also 54 degrees in Albuquerque right now and 46 degrees in Westport, Massachusetts. Shout out to Bill and his beautiful bride Erica there in Westport. Oklahoma City, 63 degrees in sunny skies and 35 degrees. Looks like some snow coming down in Spokane, Washington. So stay warm there, Steve. Here's something to keep you warm. This is a little Stone Roses here on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. Stone Roses with Love Spreads from their second album, Second Coming. Back in, it's still in the 20th century, I guess. So, good morning, Vaqueros. DJ Doc V with you here. You're listening to Office Hours. It's 10:34 on Friday, April 5th. It's 75 degrees in the beautiful upper Rio Grande Valley. Sunny skies. Looks like we're going to have good weather today. As we do every week, we've got This Day in History. And going right along with, I guess the Stone Roses was a little bit different from that Seattle sound we had go on the first half of the show. But it's hard to believe that this was 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Kurt Cobain from Nirvana dies by suicide. On April 5th, 1994, a body discovered inside his home in Seattle, Washington. 3 days later by Gary Smith, an electrician who was installing a security system in the house. Despite indications that Cobain, the lead singer of Nirvana, killed himself, some skeptics have questioned the circumstances of his death and suggested some responsibility on his wife, Courtney Love. There's no evidence to support that, though. Cobain's downward spiral began taking shape in Italy the previous month. He went into a coma and nearly died after mixing champagne and the drug Rohypnol. The public was led to believe that the coma was induced by an accidental heroin overdose, since Cobain had a well-known problem with that drug. Back at home in Seattle's Denny Blaine neighborhood, the police were called to Cobain and Love's home when he again threatened to kill himself. Although Cobain stated in a 1991 interview that he didn't believe in guns, the officers confiscated 4 from his possession. As his wife and friends tried, or essentially watched him spin out of control, they attempted to intervene. Cobain mostly ignored their concerns, but reluctantly checked into a rehab clinic in Los Angeles at the end of March that year. On March 30th, Cobain walked away from the clinic without informing his family or friends. For the next few days, Love could not locate him and decided to hire a private detective on April 3rd. The detective made contact with Cobain the following day in Seattle, but Cobain refused to return to Los Angeles. In the meantime, Cobain had convinced a friend to buy him a gun, claiming he needed it for protection. On April 5th, Cobain returned home. He had ingested enough Valium and heroin to reach near-fatal levels. In the apartment above the garage was Cobain's suicide note, quoting Neil Young's lyric that it is better to burn out than to fade away. That was This Day in Man, it's hard to believe it was 30 years ago. Wow, gosh. Such a shame, yeah. On this day in 1974, so this is 50 years ago, Stephen King's first novel, Carrie, is published. This day in 1974. On this day in 1792, George Washington exercises his very first presidential veto. After a discussion with, let's see here, what does it say? The bill introduced a new plan for dividing seats in the House of Representatives that would have increased the amount of seats for northern states, but after consulting with his politically divided and contentious cabinet, Washington, who came from the southern state of Virginia, ultimately decided that the plan was unconstitutional because in providing for additional representatives for some states, it would have introduced a number of representatives higher than that prescribed by the Constitution. After a discussion with the president, Thomas Jefferson wrote in a letter that votes for or against the bill were divided along perfectly geographical lines between the North and South. Jefferson observed that Washington feared that a veto would incorrectly portray him as biased toward the South. But in the end, Jefferson was able to convince the president to veto the bill on the grounds that it was unconstitutional. So that was in 1792, the first presidential veto. Also on this day, in 1933, Franklin Roosevelt creates the precursor to the Civilian Conservation Corps. That group planted hundreds of thousands of trees during the Great Depression in an attempt to keep the economy rolling, keep people employed. Remember, at its peak, the Depression saw 25% unemployment. That's a lot. That's really high. This day in 1976, business magnate and famed aviator Howard Hughes dies. Also in 1968, James Brown calms Boston after the assassination of Martin Luther King. And in 1951, the Rosenbergs were sentenced to death for spying during the height of the Red Scare, fair to say. We'll get back to the music here with a little ELO, bringing it back to the 70s with Don't Bring Me Down, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. How about a little Grand Funk Railroad there for you? That was a nice one. I got that one on high rotation on the Spotify playlist, that's for sure. So before that, you heard Donovan with Season of the Witch. Started off that set with ELO, Don't Bring Me Down. As we do every week on Office Hours, I picked out a great poem for you. This one a little bit longer than normal, but this is also from the 2023 edition of Gallery Magazine. It's a poem called True Blue by Klaus Mireles. Nothing but a body at the edge of the sea, moonlit rotting, come morning I'll be free. Whisper of names in a salty breeze, I know your voice anywhere, bride of the tides, keep calling back to me. Adam and Abel and me, doomed men half empty. Our first steps as people brand new, we're shore shattered, product of ocean spew. We kiss with gnashing teeth, our bodies each other's feast. 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the beast, when day breaks and your love recedes. I'll bring high tide home, I'll leave hope in the trough. I'll show you there's no better off, only dead and joyfully departed, drowning in envy where we started. I'm a tidal wave crashing and burning under your moonlight gaze. They'll only remember you the way I do, true blue star of my rear view scene. Footage of a car crash from the passenger seat, keep my grave nice and neat. And I'll write of the ways you've come undone, half dead tangled in summer sheets. I've got all your secrets up my sleeves, and tasted mine under your tongue. I'm burning bridges just to get to you, 'cause there's no warmth from pictures of the sun. That's a poem called True Blue by Klaus Mireles from Gallery Magazine, another fine production of UTRGV Student Media. That's the 2023 edition. In fact, I think they're accepting contributions to the 2024 edition of Gallery Magazine. So if you're an artist, writer, check that out. Maybe you can get yourself published before you split out of UTRGV, right? 10:55 here in the Upper Rio Grande Valley. This is DJ Doc V. You're here listening to Office Hours, Friday, April 5th. We just got a few minutes left. Let's see, what can we fit in these few minutes? How about, let's do this. How about the Pretty Reckless? Everybody, have a great weekend. Enjoy. Here's Heaven Knows, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station.